Okay, brilliant. All right, so okay, so we're back live. Thank you for your patience, everybody. We're with David Galbraith. So we're going to go straight into splitting down what seems to me the two parts of the business, and I also want to dip into your fight career. So of the two, it seems that the fight team is one big element, and then the work with the children is the other big element. So if we could maybe talk a little bit about the fight team and how that works and how that got started and where that is at the moment. And then I'd be interested to talk about the work that you're doing with children, and then perhaps talking a little bit about your background and where you came from, because I know you're really passionate about helping kids who are, went through a similar kind of path as you did. And then talk a little bit about your fight career as well, because when I met you, you were actively fighting. You were known as the Gladiator, and you would come into the, to the octagon or the cage in a gladiatorial helmet and everything, but anyway, so if we can talk a little bit about your fight team, just some information on that, and as I say, how it started and how it works.
Yeah, so our fight team, basically our team is very it's not like a lot of fight teams where, if you're good or showing talent, that's it, you're in. The way I see it, that's my tribe, and I want good guys and good ladies, and my team are female, good a decent amount of female fighters in our team as well. We're quite balanced that way, so you know we keep that contained from the recreational side of the business, which the recreational side is a really important side. A lot of people train recreationally, a small percentage train to compete. The coaches will then feed back to me and say, by the way, you should look at this person. They're looking really good. I'll give them a wee nod and say, listen, you're interested in fighting. I'll keep my eye on you. Have a wee look at them over the next few months. You could get introduced in after showing, good guy, uh, good lady, what's there, are they in it for the right reasons, going to represent the team well. I'm wanting to give people an opportunity as well. I'm not there to judge anyone. I've had a troubled background myself, and it was martial arts that helped turn that around, fighting for me, turned that around. So giving people the opportunity to go and develop themselves if their intentions are right. And it's quite a contained thing. So, we have private fight team sessions. We have a small fight team. I keep it small, but I want to go for quality over quantity. We have about 8 fighters, a mixture of amateurs, a couple of pros. Some our fighters are looking to go pro in the near future, and they are just really, really good people. I'm really fortunate to have them as part of my tribe, as part of my team. The way I see it is they're stakeholders in my business. It's not I'm the boss of them. It's a very the hierarchy in our business is everybody is quite level. Don't get me wrong. I'll step up if
Yeah, of
that big
course.
challenge comes up. I'll need to step to the front. But it's a very team orientated business. Uh, so we work a lot on the physical side, the training side, and then I'll kind of like send them out to the other classes, and then they'll come back to me. The working people who maybe specialise in jiu-jitsu, or we've got a BJJ black belt who's here. We have Gaz, who was Naga European champ. He's competed at the World Championships in America. He's a really high level grappler. We've got Sean Keogh. He's a Commonwealth standard wrestler. He was selected for the Olympic wrestling team.
Wow.
He's very very specialised. I've known Sean since I was a young man. Since I was 18,
Mm.
and then for my wife, who she isn't from a competitive background, but the technical side of things, she surpasses me in terms of striking. She's very very good at what she does. She's a great coach, great business person, absolutely phenomenal coach. Obviously, I'm biased with my wife. You know, we have coaches who are getting trained up and coming through the ranks. People are specialised working with kids, stuff like that. We've recently signed a fighter from Iceland as well, who's joined us. So we've got a really an exciting team happening. We've got a few champions are about to be unleashed, and good committed people. Like I say, we have quite a lot of females, and that's thanks to Jill. We have that good balance of both male and female.
Mm.
Martial arts is probably male dominated, but in our gym, it's pretty 50-50. That's a unique point for us. That's a big advantage. I think too many guys in one room. It's good to balance out with
Mm.
a few female minds in there as well to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, guys, like settle down a bit, So it's really good. It's really balanced that way. And then going on to the kids side of things, that's again having the female touch there really, makes that a more welcoming environment for kids to come into because it is family orientated. And the kids that we work with, some of them are going through a really rough time. Some of the kids that I'm working with are some of the most challenged in the UK.
Mm.
It be through being exposed to environment where there's poor mental health, poverty.
Mm.
I've actually physically fed some of our kids. I work in schools. They have the Little Gladiators program. Um, and some of them, every child faces challenges because we're all put here on this planet, and it's like, right, you need to learn how things work, and we all make mistakes. So, and the kids program is absolutely thriving, and it's something I'm very passionate about because they're the future of our society, and I think learning about martial arts will benefit you so much. I mean, I've made my business my businesses, like I'm a director of multiple businesses and a charity, and it all revolves around combat sports and martial arts. And I was on a path to either going in jail, getting killed, or a combination of both, or being seriously injured. I was seriously injured. I was stabbed 6 times. I've had people, I've had a gun pulled out on me, loads of extreme stuff like that. And it was martial arts that really taught me how the mind works and look
Just
after myself.
just before we get into that, obviously your background is I think is going to be one of the key elements or key points of interest in this podcast. But just before we go into that, what age group of kids are you working with? And you say that you're obviously going into schools as well, and you're working with kids who, I mean, the stats show predominantly, it predominantly white, poor, you know, young kids who are coming in who perhaps are not getting the support that they could or should have. So what are you able to do for them? As I said before, the age groups of these kids, and what do you think? What's one of the key elements that the martial arts, I suppose, done correctly or coached or offered correctly, can do for these kids?
So we work with kids from as young as 3, and we work with them right up to 15 young people. So we work with almost all age groups. Um, you know, they they vary in backgrounds. Some of them are okay. Like, a lot of them are fine. Everything's good. But they've all got their own challenges, where it's been, situations in school, the education system. It might be, the relationships with other people, other kids, how they're managing them. Learning how to fall and get back up. And then the work I do in schools is different. It's more specialised. I work in small groups with schools. It's something I call mindful martial arts. Martial arts is mindful by default. I'm not sitting like let's be mindful and breathe. I don't do anything like that. We use martial arts as that vehicle. And the kids that I'm working with in schools, they're facing challenges either whether it be dyslexia, ADHD. They might have spectrum disorders. They might have like physical or other mental disabilities, and they're just schools really challenging for them. Life outside, they might be affected by parents might be having their own challenges. They might not have, might be, they might be in the poverty below the poverty line. They might
Mm.
struggle to, put food on the table, and or I do need to be careful what I say because obviously
Yeah, of
protect
course.
children.
See, it's controversial. Not controversial. Sorry.
It's quite sensitive,
Private.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's some stuff that you know your eye sometimes couldn't imagine,
Mm.
and they're really struggling to deal with that. And my job is to is to relate with them, to help them get through these challenges, not to judge them, and to use martial arts as a vehicle. Like, it's remarkable the opportunities I've been given, James.
Mm.
Um, we've had kids, sparring with each other, and actually the schools had actually agreed. I was working in 5 different schools just before lockdown, and they
Mm.
actually agreed to allow us to put on an MMA competitions where the school would actually compete with each other,
Wow.
competitive circuit. Now this has never been done before in Scotland and possibly the UK. I know it's a model that works well in America, but these teachers were so open-minded to that, and because of the
That's
success,
incredible. Yeah.
the work he had, I was working in 5 different schools. They seen that we had the kids sparring. It was all body shots, but it was MMA sparring.
Hmm.
They were grappling. There's no submission stuff like that. They were coming out of that feeling great. Like, they had
Mm.
all that stuff built up, and maybe picking up chairs in class and throwing them, or walking out, or like violent, aggressive behaviour. And it's because they were struggling, and when they had that, they had purpose.
Mm.
And I'd say the key thing, going back to your question, and what's the key thing that martial arts can bring for it, is resilience. It's that thing that, if you speak to any psychologist, if you could contain something in a bottle and give it to any one of your clients or anyone who's struggling, it would be a bottle containing resilience, like
Mm.
a magic potion or magic pill. And for these kids, resilience is, because you can't change what's going on in their life. Like, it's not a magic wand. Like, you're like, I'm going to change their life, but you can definitely build a resilience through martial arts, which helps them then cope and deal with any challenges that's happening in their life, and how they deal with it. Because martial arts by default, like, makes you more resilient if it's coached in the correct way.
Mm.
Obviously, if, for example, if I have a student and I'm just smashing them all the time, and telling them they're rubbish, or that's not right. It has to be structured in the correct way where it's very nurturing. And I don't mean like be positive. It doesn't have to be positive, you
Mm.
know, it, but to be nurturing, especially with kids, and non-judgmental, and the the results are remarkable, James. I really, I can't put into words. I can't tell you. You would have to see it and see the difference in how kids look in their eyes and their outlook towards life, and the things that they tell me. Like how it's changed their life. It's remarkable and very, very, very rewarding. So, I would, anybody who's interested in it, I would definitely encourage, finding the right gym for your kid, and do your research, because, people make mistakes as well. Not everybody's willing to look at their flaws. I've made loads of mistakes as a coach. I still make mistakes as a coach. I'm not perfect. But making sure that it's not a negative experience that you're putting your little one, or yourself into it. And if you do, don't write it off. Have a look. There's other places, and it might just be as well that it's not the right fit for you.
Mm.
People might come and train for us and you might be, this isn't what I want. I might want you to go somewhere else, so there's a different culture, and that works best for them. That's totally cool. I encourage them, or I'd make that recommendation wherever that may be.
Mm.
But if anybody's want to be, what we do is what we say, and it's a big part of that. It's about transformation and change and making yourself a better person, and that's why it's called New Life Gym.
I think that's incredible. I mean, I've never heard of that before. Being able to, have first of having students and coaching, the martial arts, mixed martial arts in schools, which I understand because I have been involved with that myself in a form for a long time. But to hear that you would then able to coordinate having schools competing against one another, obviously healthy competition, I think that's incredible. And I'm not comparing prisons to schools by any means. I believe in the value of schools, and it's not for everybody at the academic route. But I remember reading a study a while back, and I'm talking maybe a decade or two back, and they had, obviously they have boxing, they're supporting boxing programs in prisons, and when they're taking those boxing programs out and taking away a prisoner's ability to exercise with the idea, well, we don't want prisoners learning how to fight and get big and lift weights, as if that's somehow going to make you more of a criminal. It had the opposite effect. There was more violence in the prisons, and by having that structured boxing program to go, I know Bernard Hopkins is a great example of a guy who trained and competed in jail and then competed obviously as a world champion as a pro. But yeah, I mean, I suppose it's the opposite idea of, you learn a martial art, you learn boxing, you learn kickboxing or wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Maybe not so much with jiu-jitsu, but possibly, and the idea it's going to make you more violent. Well, the opposite is true, right? For 99 times out of 100.
Well, that's what I've faced every argument. I've faced criticism. I've been scrutinised. I should be scrutinised, and I should be criticised if I'm working with, well, especially if I'm working with kids. I should be looked at very, very closely in terms of how I'm dealing with these young people, these kids. And it should be challenged to a degree, and I'm open to that. And if it's constructive. And one thing that I've always said is, by suppressing that combative side, that combative nature, you're actually by unregulating it, you're not having a conversation of how to manage a situation, how to manage conflict.
Absolutely.
You're not exploring conflict. You're actually just going, let's not look at that. That's a side of humans we don't want to see. Let's sweep that under the carpet, and it just grows and grows. It's like, the baby dragon grows to become a big dragon.
Yeah.
And I have seen it, let's punish, yeah, I'm getting less and less punish on it. I did do next to zero punishment. You might say it's soft, but I've got good reason for it. I've done my research, and everybody's got different ways. I used to use punishment tactics and parenting, and some in coaching. I don't so much now, but actually, allowing things to happen, and even if a kid's having an argument or a fight's about to happen, sometimes intervening can actually, intervening and stopping it, and can actually do more harm than good.
Yeah.
They're actually going, right, guys, right, let's settle this difference, but here's the rules. Okay, there's rules. There's a time limit. There's a matted area. Okay, when I say start, you start. When I say stop, you stop. And that's it settled. It's, here's the rules. You can't really smash each other. You can try and win, and then they shake hands and go, do you know what? You're actually all right. It's a story of when you're in school, you have your first fight, or somebody's the term bullied or bullying you, or I say the term because it's used a lot these days. It's when you actually fight the other person, you end up really good pals because you respect each other. And you go, right, okay, you shake hands and you become friends, and in a controlled environment where it's safe, it's not a bad thing. But to not explore it is more damaging, because then there is no direction in conflict. There's no direction or structure. There's no model for that type of behaviour. It's just not addressed. It's like, okay, here's a fight, don't do that. It's like, no, okay, we can do it in a controlled environment. Here's the model. We create a model for them. There's time limits. Here's the rules, like I said before. And they get the outlet, because at the end of the day, we are still, and I know everybody's got their own beliefs, but we are still, animals. We have, parts of our brain that is designed to hunt and gather, thousands, millions of years, evolution. Our brains are formed like that. So to suppress that and deny it in this generation, it's and say it's a bad thing, actually can have the opposite effect, because it comes out in an undesirable way. And this is part of my aim, is because in talking about jails, is like, for me, I was one of those kids. I could easily have went to jail and become institutionalized. a lot of, part of it's to prevent this from happening, is to stop, this from happening, from people going to jail or, having really serious problems throughout life. Like, part of my mission is to help prevent that before it happens.
Well, my understanding of it, that all the psychological literature and the evolutionary science, although I hate using that word now because it's so misty, biology backs up exactly what you've said. I mean, from a neurological or a brain chemistry perspective, what you said is absolutely true. There is different parts of the brain, and for millions, tens of millions of years of hunting, gathering, fighting, a few hundred years of civil society, or maybe a few thousand, doesn't override that. So that's still is our fundamental nature. And then you were saying before about when the boys particularly when they have a disagreement, when they fight it out, that clears the air, and it does, and that's what the studies overwhelmingly show, that the air is cleared, and then they can be friends. Where with females, it tends not to be physical; it's more character destruction, which is more can be much more damaging. So yeah, from my understanding of the literature, backs up exactly what you've said, and and I would say, and I'll say this as well, this is my opinion, again, this is what's been shown, is that certainly young boys now, I think, I believe are struggling more than ever, and trying to suppress their masculine tendencies is never a good thing, is it? It never leads to anything good, and I think by suppressing it, it's likely going to escalate in the wrong way. So it's really incredible and interesting to hear that. And am I right in saying that every time you've had a situation where the boys have been able to kind of fight it out, it's always had a positive result at the end of it? And when I fight it out in a controlled way with gloves, I'm assuming, because you never mentioned gloves, but I'm assuming gloves as well as time limits, right? And gum shields, not just there's a matted area, there's a time limit, go to town.
So it's not UFC 1 for kids, but
That's right. Yeah, UFC 1, nice.
we do have the gloves and stuff like
Maybe
that.
maybe that's something you could start. Maybe there's legs in that UFC 1 for kids.
Well, maybe that maybe be another podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. And based on my experience, it's not just having it out, but that does help. Actually allowing them, to share their differences and their problems, and sometimes I'll just sit, I'll sit and watch, and I'll be there as a mediator for them, and to go, obviously, and discuss each other's feelings on the matters, and then, okay, right, guys, if we can't come to, a verbal agreement, then why don't we settle on them? And you get that outlet, because there's a build-up anxiety, there's a build-up adrenaline, and if they don't deal with it then and then, where's that going to come out? Like, where is that? It's not going to, it's going to come out at home, it's going to come out on the computers, somebody will say something to them, and they'll blow up and smash something anyway, because they're in a state of fight or flight. So they've got all that, that chemistry built up, and there has to be a release. So normally, from my experience, I've seen a positive outcome where they've settled their differences. Don't get me wrong, I have been caught out a couple of times, time-wise, where, something's maybe happened towards, a challenge has happened towards the end of the session. But, I've never really left a situation where, an issue's been caused as such. It's been either neutralised, dealt with, and I've stayed back and I've went, like, listen, guys, it's important we settle this here. Let's, high five, fist bump, and let's wrestle. And they settle it. They settle it there and then.
I'm just going to put another sponsor. We have another sponsor I'd like to announce, and then I'd like to get on to, because I'm aware that time is, it may be, if you're available, we may go over by 5 minutes because we'd lost 5 minutes, only if your time allows you to do that. And I also have the short questions. Now the questions are just short, kind of, and like it's a 30-second answer to each question, but I also want to talk about your fight career, so there's quite a lot to cover. So I'm just going to put in our next sponsor, and then we're going to get straight back to David. So a big thank you to all of our sponsors tonight. Our next sponsor is AIM Leisure. Aim Leisure was established in 2016 as a fashion sportswear brand and has developed to be a well-respected wholesale supplier of trend-led quality uniform and promotional clothing to boutique gyms and sports clubs around the UK. Using UK manufacturing facilities and an entirely British supply chain for their raw materials. You can contact Aim Leisure at www.aimatleisure.com, or you can find them on Instagram at Aim Leisure, and that's Aim spelt AIM Leisure. I'll give you that as well, LEISURE. Thank you very much to our sponsors tonight. So, David, can we talk a little bit? It's incredible what we've just discussed there with your work with young people, but I'd like to discuss a little bit about your professional fight career, your mixed martial arts fight career. I remember we trained. I think we first met when you were training at. It was a predominantly a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym. I think I can't remember when we trained a bit together then. And I think when I met you, you were just. I could be completely wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong. You were just starting your mixed martial arts career. I've watched you fight a couple of times. You were known for your conditioning and your toughness, as well as your skill, and obviously for coming into the octagon, the competitive arena with a gladiatorial helmet, which was always impressive. I think the only guy who really took you in the just not in the Bellator and UFC and the was it the one championship that would go pretty crazy, but as far as re-entrance is, but I think on the in the professional arena at that kind of high level, I think the only guy who trumped you for ring entrance was the guy who used to come in with a fully working chainsaw. Do you remember that guy?
That's right. That was brilliant. That was really good.
But can we just talk a little bit just about your professional fight career, how you got started in that, some fights of mention, and your feelings going in, and your style, and obviously we can direct people to YouTube and to watch some of them.
Well, for me, my mentality going into fight was do or die. You're going to have to kill me, to beat me, and I never tapped out in one fight. All of my MMA fights, so I had 23 MMA fights in total. I had 16 pro. I'd never tapped out to anyone, and that's what I set out to do. I had my shoulder dislocated in my first pro fight because I didn't tap out. I was choked unconscious and nearly killed in a British title fight. And made for the cage. I'd fought a lot of good high level opposition, a lot of really good guys, and I loved it. Like absolutely, I still love MMA. I love just the fight. I loved to win and just be in a cage with another man, and we're just gonna fight it out. And
yeah.
Every fight had its own unique mindset and mentality. I experimented with different mindsets and different mentalities going into fights, and really fundamentally, basically my aim was to become the best fighter I could possibly become. By best fighter, I meant best fighter. I don't mean best athlete or best sports person. I went, how do I become the best fighter? And the best way for me to test that was MMA, because it's the closest thing to a real fight. It's not the same as a real fight. And by a fight, I mean if you were in a street fight, or someone's got to attack you, or a real life kind of combative situation. And, every sport is real, but it's within certain rules. And I felt that was that was a term as kind of as real as it gets back then. So I felt that was a good way to test my skills, and that came off the back of me, getting stabbed. I decided that I was going to protect myself, and I was going to get as good a fighter as I could become. And best way to test it is to get in a cage and become professional. But ended up, I just loved that. I absolutely just the thrill of a fight, the excitement. You have to be courageous. You have to face adversity and challenges, and it's tough. It's a really tough game. There's a very little financial reward as well.
What was can you tell us? I mean, so what was your mindset going into the cage, and what would you say was your hardest fight, and perhaps what was what was the favorite moment, or perhaps your favorite fight, one that you have a really kind of specific memory about?
My mindset going into fights varied. The best mindset in my head was that I was going to kill the guy who's in front of me. That was when I was most effective. Right? That worked for me. Everyone's different, you know. You come across to me, James, as you know, as quite a professional, polished guy, quite a a methodical guy. I would say I was better when I was more aggressive and I'm going to attack. So that was when I felt I was at my best. That worked for me. Certain people brought that out in me. Bobby McVitie brought that out in me. We really, Bobby was number one in Scotland. I wanted to be number one. At that time, I managed to convince myself that I didn't like him. Bobby's actually a really good guy, but I decided that he wasn't, and he decided he wasn't, and we just wanted the same hangman, and there was only one guy that was going to get it, and I decided that was going to be me, and Bobby decided that was going to be him. So,
can I just interject and say, so there was a trilogy of fights, and I'll go back to you.
Yeah. So I fought Bobby 3 times. I beat him the first time. He was raging about that. He really didn't like it. He was really annoyed. I think he was a bit embarrassed, to be honest with you. And the second time I fought in a 4-man tournament, he beat me in the final of the 4-man tournament. It went to decision. It was a really, really tough fight. My first fight went the distance. His first fight finished quick. Things weren't good at my gym at that time as well. There was a lot of negative stuff going on, and I just, things weren't great, and I didn't get into that fight 100%. Bobby was on form that night. He was in great form, and he beat me. And I really took that loss hard. I took that hard. And then I was out for revenge. You know what I mean? I was like, I want to beat this guy. Like I knew I was better than him, or could be better than him on the night. And that's not to speak disrespectful of Bobby. He's an amazing athlete and a good guy. And I bet him the third time, and that was my favourite fight because every time I punched him, like I was smiling at him. I was talking to him. I really brought out my dark side in that fight. I was, I laid every trap for him. I was laying traps from left, right, and centre on the build up to that fight. It was a big psychological battle. I knew I had to win it. This was, it was a trilogy, and I won, and I dominantly won, and the whole fight. And I deliberately didn't finish it. I could have finished Bobby in the first round, second round. I kept it going. I dragged it out because I wanted to retire him.
Yeah,
and he did. He retired, and I'm sorry if you're watching this, Bobby. I think you're a good guy. I do. Bobby's a great guy. He is. I just, at the time we hated each other because we wanted the same thing. And I'd say one of the toughest guy. I beat Adam Stevenson.
I forgot you fought Adam. That's right. Yeah.
And Adam was tough, man.
Yes.
That fight was hard, right? That was a decision. And I knew I was never going to, I wound him up as well, right? I knew I was never going to, I was never going to, knock him out or anything like that, but it really was a battle of who was the toughest. I still think, I think I had more dimensions to my game. I think in terms of pure toughness, Adam could match me in more. He's a really, really tough guy, one of the toughest guys I've ever met. I knew just punching him in the face, nothing would happen. So I just kicked his legs.
That's true.
So I just kept kicking his legs and I outscored him in the fight. But tough guy, really tough fight. Massive respect to Adam. I had to get inside his head to beat him.
How did he get inside his head?
I wore a big rubber nose to the weigh-in and I rubbed it in his face.
I forgot all this.
And he blew up and he was really angry about it. And I remember Richie Carlin, our mutual friend, came up to somebody and says, Davey's lit a fire in him. And I remember just somebody came and reported it back to me, and I says, good. I says, that's what I want. I was like, I'm trying to wind him up. He loses the plot, and that's what happened, and that's how I beat him. I got inside his head, I wound him up, and he was just trying to take my head off. And every time I done it, I just kept kick, going for takedowns. But it was But wasn't it, that fight was really hard, man. Even a guy like Adam trying to take your head off.
Mm,
Could you imagine? You know
mm,
what
mm-hmm.
I mean?
Yeah,
It's, it
he's
was
tough.
not for the faint-hearted.
It's I want to I want to, as I say, I want to ask you. I would like to ask you these questions, and before I do, just to on that note. So what would you say were your main strengths as a mixed martial arts fighter? I mean, you covered that a little bit, but more physical, other than your mental attitude, but and where did you put your main area of focus on? Was it your striking, your boxing, your kicking? Was it your wrestling? Was it your jiu-jitsu? Was your game based around? I know it wasn't sprawl and brawl, but as an example. So what area did you work on, and what did you think? How do you think that then played to your natural strengths?
So I wanted to become the most diverse fighter I could. So I was, for me, it was becoming the complete mixed martial artist.
Mm,
I focused in many different areas, but I found it to become as diverse as possible and as resilient as possible. I had to become good at wrestling. I
right.
just so happened one of my best mates is a Commonwealth wrestler and Olympic level wrestler. So I brought him on as a coach. He coached me through wrestling. I became known as a good wrestler, and also know that it was something that a lot of people were missing in the UK. And there
Mm,
was a lot of strikers or good jiu-jitsu. A lot of people avoided wrestling. Once because there's not a lot of resources in wrestling in this country, but two, it's a really tough sport and people avoid it because it hurts like hell.
I meant to
And
that.
there's very little reward to it in terms of the competitive scene. So I really focused on that, becoming conditioned, fit, strong. So I'd say I was quite well rounded, but wrestling was what I ended up becoming known for. Anybody who knew me knew two things. One, I could wrestle, so I could take the fight to the ground or standing up, and they weren't going to tap me out. So
Mm-hmm.
that was more the psychological aspect of it. So you knew if you were fighting me that you were in for a fight, and that was the kind of message I wanted to put out there. Win or lose, I was coming to fight, and it was going to be hard.
Yeah, yeah. David, I want to I would like to ask you these five questions that we ask each guest, and the replies essentially are just short replies, perhaps 30 seconds to a minute on each question, perhaps. Just to really get into your initial feeling about it. But just before I ask you these, I've got to. This has been on my mind since we were going to talk. Do you remember the night when I was out with Chris Crow, and we're in Glasgow at the nightclubs, and we bumped into each other in, I can't remember the name of the night. Was it Cushion? I can't remember. I think it was. And it was already 1 a.m., right? And then we ended up going into this onto a boat. There was this big cruise ship, which was a big
Yeah,
nightclub. The bouncer was like, "You guys were really drunk," and he was like, "You can get in, you can get," but he can't get in. I was hardly drunk, so I wasn't going to get in. And then we got in, and it was he wasn't even going to let me in. And I was like, "I'm the only sober one here, pretty
the
much."
only guy sober.
That's it. And it was the night of Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva. And then we got the TV on. Chris had managed to get them to put the TV on. And I remember falling asleep, and Chris was pushing me, and you were trying to keep me awake, and we watched the fight. And I think we and this is what I'm getting to. So we came off that boat at I think it was 7 or 8 o'clock on the morning, right? We've been out all night. And this is what I remember. I don't know if you remember this. I just remember saying, right, we're going to have to get some sleep. I'm knackered. And this is what I remember is you saying, direct quote, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. And I remember we were going to go buy some alcohol and go under a bridge and drink something. I was knackered. Do you remember that?
No, no, I remember. I think that was normal for me. I was like, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I just remember talking about going to buy cider, and we were just getting. I just remember we're just getting started. We're just getting. We've been out all night. I was knackered. Oh, it was a good night. It was fun. That's been on my mind. I can still remember your face telling me that as well, and I was like, oh, really? Should we just? It was cool. It was cool. So the question. So, well, this will be probably quite a short one because we covered this, but the first question is, how did you begin your martial arts, boxing, or entrepreneurial journey? So we've talked a little bit about that already, but how would you say you encapsulate? How did you begin your journey into the martial arts and the business behind it? I mean, have we talked about already as a way of?
Yeah, I just think, quickly is, I got stabbed 6 times and I decided that I was going to pursue it as a career, and I found a club. It was in a sports centre. I started watching like videos and DVDs and going to wrestling. I'd done kickboxing before. That was actually my background, was high kick kickboxing. And then I just fell in love with MMA. There was a grappling side of it. I thought I could fight, and I realised when I was grappling I actually couldn't fight.
Mm,
I got handled big time, and I thought I need to learn that, and that was that. I just fell in love and dedicated every day of my life to it because I didn't want to go back to where I'd been. So it was every step was forward for me.
yeah, excellent. The second question is, what inspired you to continue your training development? So to keep going.
Couple of motivating factors was to get out of a bad position into a better position. So, part of that motivation could have been fear. The other part of the motivation was to, become a better version of myself, and I'm still doing that just now. It's every day I'm dedicated to becoming a better version of myself, and and maybe fixing out some of the issues that are the challenges in my character and whatever that is, how I move, or in all areas of life and my mind. So I'm always developed to be a better version of myself, so I've got more to offer this world and more to offer my family and my friends and the people that I'm surrounded by. And martial arts does that, and it also shows you that there is always somebody bigger and better than you. So you will be humbled,
Mm.
uh, and that competitive feel of things, and knowing that there's someone else better than you makes you raise your game. You have to take it to that next level every single time because someone will always have your number. So that's why you need to keep changing and developing, and that's what motivates me. I'm still training every day.
That's fantastic. Again, this is something we encapsulate, we discuss, but just to encapsulate it, could you tell us a little bit more about your personal psychology or feelings towards competition?
Okay, so personal psychology, and for me, uh, such a big question, but I'd say my personal psychology is all about developing myself, make myself a better person, being self-aware, being able to criticize myself, and you know, being a good person, having a good character, having a straight mind. Um, and yeah, I'd say my mentality towards competition is that I love it personally. I'm very competitive by nature. I like winning. I don't. I'm a very compassionate and empathetic person. I don't like seeing people losing, even if it means that I need to win. I don't get great delight in that. Um, you know, but I like winning. I'm competitive by nature, so anything I do, you know, if I play my friend on the computer or like anything, like I'm 100. I'm sweating and stuff, man. Like
Mm.
my face is red. I'm like triggered.
Yeah.
I'm very competitive by nature. I love competition. I love it. That's where you get the truth. I feel competition is where you find the truth in life
Mm.
because all the fakeness, all the you can sit and you can be polite with people, and you should be polite and courteous, but really competition's getting down to the nitty gritty and the ugly facts that we don't like to face,
Mm.
and that's where real development happens because you see you see harshness in nature of human beings, and you see the
Mm.
harshness in yourself and negatives in yourself if you're able and willing to see that side of you. So I think that competition should go hand in hand with personal development. And that's what I'm all about these days, is developing myself as a person.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. So just briefly, for a person out there looking to begin training, what would you recommend they do to begin this pursuit?
Uh, I would say there's a lot of martial arts out there. There's a lot of schools. You know, I've had good experiences and bad experiences. Not every guy that does martial arts is a good guy or a good person. Not every person that does martial arts is a bad person. I don't believe in, good or bad. We do good and bad things.
Mm,
But I would say, pick the one, just get in touch. Even if it's the wrong one at the start, get in touch, give them a shout, get started. And don't be put off if it is a negative experience. Move on to the next one, find one
mm,
that's right for you. Just get started. Just do it, man. Like, that's all I can say is just if you're thinking about doing martial arts right now and you're like, I don't know, I'm worried about this,
mm,
all that fear stuff's not real. Just go and do it, man. You'll find actually like, I get a wee bit worried going into a new gym. I get worried going into a yoga class.
mm.
You know, I get a wee bit scared going into a new environment where I don't know anyone. Are they going to judge me? Are they going to think, how they're going to perceive me? Are they going to like me? All these things are running through your head.
Mm.
So just do it. Just go give it a try. And don't be dependent on another person. You can take a friend with you the first time, but it has to be for you.
Mm.
And it's if you stick at it, you will really reap the rewards. So just go and do it. And just now it's difficult. I get it. COVID's a thing. Contact the gym and let them know you're interested. There's online training. We have online training. I'm going to pitch my business here. If you want to learn and train with
Yes,
us,
please do. Yeah, we'll put this in the comments and the links.
get in touch with us, man. Like, we've got online training there, and you can jump on with us and learn with us until it's right. And if it's not, or if you want a wee bit of advice, I'm happy to recommend other gyms. You know, Contact me, drop me a wee message if you want. And if we're not in your area and I know of a gym, I'll get my way and and be like, there's a good gym. So I'm quite open to being supportive with that.
Can people just go onto Google, type in New Life Gym Glasgow, and find your website, find you on social media platforms, etc.?
Yeah, so as soon as you go into Google New Life Gym Glasgow, come up our Facebook, Instagram, our website. There's loads and loads of content in there. So if you go into New Life Glasgow on Google, you'll find us absolutely no problem at all.
That's brilliant. I think you're going to get a lot of hits on that. So the last question, just to kind of wrap things up, and we'll then say our goodbyes. So here's a easily answered question in 15 seconds. Life is absolutely a challenge, but it needs to be. What has it taught you so far?
Wow. That's such a deep philosophical, tough question. Life is a challenge, and it's taught me that it's challenging, and challenges are there to be overcome. And overcoming those challenges can be a positive or a negative. I think that if you allow it to, it can make you a better person, but you need to look at yourself. And that's really, overcoming any challenge is looking within. And that's one thing that I've learned is, facing challenges, the answers really are within. Because the first instinct is to blame, get angry, why is this happening to me? All these things you face as a child, a lot of experiences as adults. But the answers are in here and there. We just need to allow ourselves to look at them. And it's not an easy thing to do. I think that's the biggest challenge is to
Mm,
look inside here and say, I don't like that about myself. I want to change that. That's a challenge.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. David, it's been an absolute, well, first of all, thank you for your kindness for coming on. Thank you for your patience as well when we had those few technical hitches. That's been a really inspirational, informative, and very moving podcast. I think I certainly believe that the listeners for tonight and the listeners that can certainly find on our YouTube channel, Team Alpha, will massively benefit from those words of wisdom. And so it's really been it's been absolutely tremendous. That's the only words I can give it. And thank you for sharing your thoughts and feelings, your experiences with everybody. We'll hopefully have you on again sometime. As we've been messaging each other, when things return to some form of stability and normality, I would love to come up and see you guys, and you're very welcome down here anytime. And I'd love to see what it's like up there, and perhaps do some blogging or whatever. And I think that'd be really beneficial for people. I'd love to see you, train with you again. And is there anything you want to finish with, or just briefly thank just before we shut this down?
No, just thank you so much to you guys for having me on. It's a real privilege to, feel so welcome and, actually speak with a good old friend and share some good old memories. And hopefully we can get that bottle of cider under the bridge.
Yeah.
When you come up.
You beat me to the punch, because I was gonna end it with the word, as a wise man once said, "We're just getting started." I'm going to bring you the best cider I can find when I come and see you, my friend. Okay, listen, bless you. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Please say hi to your beautiful wife, and have a great weekend with all these students. And well, obviously not at the moment, but I'm sure you'll be in touch with them all. And have a great weekend. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. And it's been a wonderful experience having you on. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care, my friend.
Take care.
Fantastic. So we just had